Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Conjure Animals.
Rabbit and snake and stuff. I conjured them.
That's fantastic.
I'm a master, what can I say? This is a robust spell that is, I think, in contention for the most busted spell in the game whenever not used fairly, whenever given like player agency in, and whenever player agency doesn't occur here, it can be close to useless. So like it's got a huge variation in its power level to the point that it's problematic for a lot of tables. So this is a third level spell for Druids Rangers, got a concentration of an hour, action to cast, 6 foot cast range for prismatic components. You summon fey spirits that take the form of beasts and appear in unoccupied spaces you can see within range. Choose one of the following options for what appears. 1 beast of CR2 or lower, 2 beasts of CR1 or lower, 4 beasts of CR1 half or lower, 8 beasts of CR1 fourth or lower. Each beast is considered fey and it disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or when the spell ends. Also considered fey, so it's a beast and a fey. So it applies to, Charm Beast does work on, or Dominate Beast does work on this, as does stuff that banishes fey.
Okay.
The summoned creatures are friendly to you and your companions. Roll initiative for the summoned creatures as a group, which has its own turns. They obey any verbal commands that you issue them, no action required by you. If you don't issue any commands, they defend themselves from hostile creatures but take no actions. The GM has creature statistics, which is a bold-faced lie, and sample creatures can be found below. And that's just on the D&D Beyond site, I'm assuming. At higher levels, you can upcast it to double, triple, or quadruple the number of creatures summoned using if you use a 5th, 7th, or 9th level slot. 5th level is pretty worth it casting. Like, you're really happy if you can get... Well, we'll touch on it in a second. Generally, again, for viewers at home, what's important to remember is that you get 8 creatures CR1 fourth or lower. That's always the best option, and that's the only agency you have, rules is written, as a player to decide what occurs here. So whenever you cast a spell, you pick one of the 4 modes, which is 1 creature, 2 creatures, 4 creatures, or 8 creatures, and 8 is always better than 4, 2, or 1. Across the board. There's so many options that have so many different types. You're not going to be like struggling to find flight or swim speeds in the lower CR stuff. You'll almost always want to pick those. There's a caveat. And that caveat is your DM can be a dick.
Yeah.
So all of these
you're not struggling to find anything.
Yes. Your DM is supposed to pick the monsters for you. And because, for example, if you, let's say you pick, I want 1 beast. I don't want to manage all these little minions running around. I just want a cool pet to help me out in this fight. And you say 1 beast to CR2 or lower. They can go great. A frog, CR0 frog, crawls out from beneath the curtains.
That is lower.
That is lower than CR2, and it is a legal target for the DM to pick and give to you, which is not ideal. So what will often happen is the spell ends up being, well, the player picks. What often happens is the DM will go, I don't want to carry around and have to scroll through every single beast known to mankind. I don't want to have all these stat blocks on me because you chose this really obnoxious spell. You can just summon the ones you want and you can deal with it. And then what happens is you pick giant owls. And once you pick giant owls, they fly into the world, pick up all your enemies, and dash upwards as fast as they can, and you've successfully cheesed any medium or smaller creature encounters that you've been a part of. And you get 8 of them. You get 8 of them. 8 is so many for 5th level characters to get. 8 is a ridiculous quantity of creatures. You don't even need giant owls for this spell to be utterly busted, by the way. Any CR 1/4 creatures are going to be nasty good. Wolves have pack tactics, and you get 8 of them. So you spawn 8 creatures with advantage on attack rolls that knock things prone, and they just start mauling things. It's disgusting. It's yucky good, and it's a 3rd level spell. Like, it's really, really disgusting. Making a balanced version of this doesn't really exist. It will either feel like utter crap whenever you get, a small group of camels that don't really want to fight. But even then, it's still pretty good if you get 8 camels. They can do a lot of things. It's only if you get, like, the CR0 stuff that you really feel scammed. This spell's so busted. This spell's... 8 is just too many. 8 is too many. That's what it comes down to, is 8 is too many.
All right, what if the DM had a table and he's rolling randomly for it?
Then this spell becomes close to uncastable. So like
right.
if we look at the table itself, right? They have the sample creatures, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 25 options of CR0, and all of them across the board are going to feel awful to get. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 CR2 creatures. So if you pick CR2, one of CR2 or lower, you are over twice as likely to get a CR0 creature than you are to get a CR2 creature.
Well,
If we did
that's
a perfectly
one
random
more
table.
reason you always choose the CR 1/4 or lower.
Sure. And then it's a better odds that you get monsters of CR 1/4 to 1/8. And then we also have the question of, well, are you varying the creatures? Do you want to roll 8 times and get 8 different things? Then you have a really interesting spell, at least, where you're like, oh, you got an axe beat and a giant bat and a camel and 2 goats. And like, it's what's happening here. That could be kind of neat.
That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I actually would really love to DM it that way. That's a great idea. DMs out there, take that advice and run with it. That's a sweet concept. But like, it's still. Then what happens is you go, everyone take 15 minutes, go take a smoke, go grab a beer. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna open all my books. I'm gonna make notepads for all of these 8 different stat blocks of the 60 listed, and I'm going to figure out what monsters you're seeing. That's so much work, and your DM already has so much work to do when it comes to planning, when it comes to running encounters, when it comes to managing the stat blocks of the creatures they want to include for varied and interesting dynamic encounters. It's such a lot of work to handle already. That's normally why it's going to be on the players. It's pushed to their responsibility until they cast it once, and the entire table goes, "What just happened?" So, like,
The DM knows this option's on the table. He's got a big stack of index cards.
No, most don't. Most
Yeah,
DMs aren't running around with a giant stack of index cards ready to go sift through the PHB to find the exact right 8 monsters to get. It's not like it's readily, apparently, easily accessible either if you aren't using D&D Beyond. Like, if you're working out of a player's handbook, these aren't next to the monster spell description, which means you have to pull out your monster manual, find where it has the beast organized by CR, and then pick from there, flipping to each individual page as you see fit. That's so much work.
Well, that's why I prepare index cards.
Sure. Do you know how much work Fireball is? Not that much.
No.
Not that much work.
But yeah, well, I don't know. I like that idea. Random animals all over the place. It's just nice. All right, let's talk about Druid versus Ranger. These are the 2 classes that get it. Rangers are half casters.
It being
How
a
big a
third
difference
level.
is there?
So on Druids, it's utterly busted at 5th level.
Yeah.
As a 9th level option for Rangers, it's still ridiculous. But it's a little bit closer to the realm of fair, especially given that your full cast are casting 5th level spells. So if you don't have a Druid in the party and you are the Ranger, if I'm DMing that, I'm going to be more in favor of giving the Ranger those big splashy moments with their 3rd level spells. And especially if they decide to cast 5th level spells with it, getting 16 of these things, that really does feel close-ish. Like, you're summoning 16 wolves. That feels like a big, splashy, impactful spell. Maybe not the same as a meteor, but a lot better than an average 5th level slot it's going to tend to feel, right? So I'm going to be a lot more incentivized to give the Ranger access to more powerful instances with this kind of effect. It has a 9th level spell summoning 8 times 4 is 32.
32, yeah.
Yeah, math just left my brain. Summoning 32 of these things as a 9th level spell, I actually think is a lot more fair than summoning 8 of them as a 3rd level spell, just because at that tier, they're expected to handle 32 19 hit point creatures, right? Like, that's a very manageable thing for upper CR monsters to deal with and upper CR encounters to manage. And the upper CR encounters are kind of an event anyway, so like, I'm expected to do a lot more work if I'm DMing those encounters. So like, at those tiers, I think this spell is a lot more approachable. It's still not something like Druids at 5th level, I think, is where it's the main problem. Is this as a 3rd level spell slot for Druids is a huge issue. Even for Rangers at 9, it's still quite powerful. Like, obnoxiously so.
The value of all these creatures, though, it's not necessarily that they're doing a bunch of damage, but they are, distracting people and clogging up paths and giving you flanking bonuses or sneak attack, setting those up.
Yeah,
all kinds of things. They're taking up turns. They're breaking concentration, hopefully.
Like, if I were to cast a 3rd level spell, right, and I were to say the 3rd level spell gives your team 96 hit points. That's a decent spell. Yeah. Right? Like, just a 3rd level spell, 96 hit points. Everyone gets it. This spell distributes that over 8 creatures on average, on a 12 hit point monster summoned this way, right? Like, you get a truckload of hit points out the gate. You also, again, if we look at how much damage these things deal, a riding horse, CR 1/4, does 2d4 plus 3 damage. If 8 of them connect, that's 16d4 damage plus 3. It's now granted to a single target, right? They distribute that over their hits, and a lot of them missed, and they only have +5 to hit, which is still an often like a regular hit amount at 5th level. So like there's a lot of good things happening there, but you're right. Like beyond them just being a good damage option, the turns, the hit points, them drawing attack actions from other characters and other creatures, it's backbreaking. If this spell is cast, the DM often's only solution is to hit the druid as hard and fast as they possibly can, because they can't handle the huge shift in encounter balance that happens whenever 8 new creatures spawn into existence.
Also, 8 horses are pretty heavy. If you need to destroy a rope bridge or something,
yeah,
this is
a
a
great
spell
point.
for you.
Thank you, Bob. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
It's cute that they're also large. They just physically take up a lot of space. Like if you spawn in 8 horses, all of a sudden 32 squares are just covered on the map. Just their horses everywhere.
Yeah.
It makes it physically harder to get to you because you have to go through all the horses.
If viewers at home, if you are interested in horse utility, these are the books for you.
Excellent.
And
Giant wolf spiders, poison on hit. They have like a poison bonus damage that they get. Giant lizards are just big lizards, and you can ride around them. That's pretty sweet. I love conceptually, like you have a big party and you just summon a bunch of mounts for everyone and you just charge into battle on them. That's such a cool ability. It's ridiculously good. It's a really cool ability though.
And it's
actually
just got an hour-long duration. Is that right?
Sure does.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it smells busted.
Oof.
If you really want to get funky with it,
all right, it's a concentration spell. If you've got 8 horses harassing somebody, they got to deal with those 8 horses, before they can try and break your concentration. Well, not necessarily, but it's an issue.
Here's a cute thing you can do as a druid. You conjure animals right before a fight begins, and then on the first turn of combat, I wild shape into a vole and bury 10 feet underground. And then just let them do their thing. They're more efficient than my action's ever going to be. Go nuts, animals. Have a good time up there. Then concentration's not an issue because you're a little vole underground.
Yeah.
If you want to get funky with it, giant frogs eat people, and they like hold them in their gullet, and then you cause bedlam with a bunch of frogs eating people. That's really fun.
That happened to me in Authors and Dragons.
You got eaten by a giant frog?
Yep.
It's a great time. I love it. Giant frogs, I think, are like one of the most under talked about iconic D&D monsters. Just because everyone has had an encounter with a giant frog at this point, I feel like, if you've played D&D for more than like a year of your life. So yeah, this spell's busted. It's really, 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 really gross. If you get any CR4, honestly, CR1/8 options, getting 8 of them is disgusting. So like, if this is a spell you have to talk to your DM about, it's that powerful. If they don't screw you, it's busted. Like even if you get 4 good CR1/4, CR1/8 things, it's still going to be a giant encounter swing. Summon Beast gives you 1 thing, and I rate that spell very highly. This spell gives you way more than that, way too efficiently. 5 out of 5 game warping busto power kind of spell.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. 5 out of 5, agreed. All right, well that was Conjure Animals. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.